Welcome to Caregiver SOS On Air, presented by the WellMed Charitable Foundation, with nationally known gerontologist Carol Zernial and award-winning veteran broadcaster Ron Aaron. This program provides health, wellness, and other information for caregivers who are vital to the health and well-being of so many people across our country. And now, here are your hosts, Ron Aaron and Carol Zernial.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the award-winning Caregiver SOS On Air. We're delighted to have you with us. We come to you every week with a look at a variety of health and wellness issues that affect caregiving and caregivers as well. I'm Ron Aaron. Tina Smith, filling in for Carol Zernial, is with us. Tina is the Senior Director of Caregiver Program Operations through the WellMed Charitable Foundation. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social gerontology. Tina has been providing support to family caregivers for over 30 years. She started her career working in the long-term care industry and then moved on to serve the Bay Area Agency on Aging. She's taught gerontology courses and a whole lot more, and we are delighted to have her with us today. Tina Smith, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be able to join you today.
Well, we've got a fascinating program coming up. Raven Duran is with us talking about becoming a new caregiver and navigating the world of caregiving, where to start, what to know, and when to speak up. Raven is a devoted mother and a new caregiver whose journey began after her son became disabled following brain surgery in February 2024. She immersed herself into the world of caregiving and special needs advocacy. Raven has become a strong voice for her son's special education and needs. She serves on the Family Advisory Board at Christus Children's Hospital, where she collaborates with caregivers, physicians, and others. And Raven, we're delighted to have you with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
And I'm sorry you had to go through all of that with your son, Maddox. Tell us about him and tell us about when you discovered he had some challenges.
Yeah, so Maddox is a 7-year-old boy. We were just a typical family. He was a typical boy, healthy, no prior medical concerns or health issues. He played football. He just did all the boy things until one day we were actually riding a bike, and I noticed he wasn't using both of his hands to ride his bike, and one of his arms kept flexing behind his head. And I just thought that was a little weird. And just little things that I was picking up on, that he was falling asleep. He was just having a nosebleed. He was a little nauseous. Just all the little things started adding up. And I call it my mom instinct kicked in. And I just knew something wasn't right. And so I took him to the ER, and I could have never expected what I was about to hear. And turns out that so we took him to the ER. They told us that he was having a stroke and he was experiencing stroke-like symptoms. And so they were going to go ahead and do more testing on him. We did a CT to then find out that he had a brain mass. So at that time, the hospital that we were at didn't have pediatric neurosurgery department available. So we were then transferred to Christus Children's via ambulance, where they were prepping us for brain surgery. And I had no idea, why are we being prepped for brain surgery? What type of brain mass? What is this? I had no answers at that time. So we get to Christus Children's and come to find out that he has a bleeding brain mass. He was having a hemorrhage stroke.
Hemorrhagic stroke.
Yes. And so he needed to go into emergency brain surgery to remove this mass.
Had to scare the H out of you.
I was just in shock. I don't remember much. I just remember being in a shock moment, and so much was going on around us. And I just, looking back, I see so many things that I could have asked then in the moment, but I was just frozen and shocked. And here was this neurosurgeon telling me that they were going to do this brain operation. And, he's done thousands of these before, and put all my trust in him, and, pray to God that everything was going to be okay after this. And so we went ahead and went into surgery. Maddox was talking. He was he was just being his normal self right before this, other than the hand movements and the symptoms he was having. Still had my boy the exact same personality. So after surgery, he didn't wake up and he was in a natural coma for about 2 weeks. Um, and nobody could tell us why. Everybody kept telling us every brain is different, and he'll wake up when he's ready. He'll wake up when his brain is ready. And that's not what you want to hear. But ultimately, they're right. Like, we don't know what the brain is going to do and when it's going to do it. And you just kind of have to give it time. And so from that time, we were in and out of ICU, still within the hospital, but just going in and out of ICU. He ended up needing 4 more brain surgeries right after that within 30 days.
Stay with
And
us a minute. I want to find out about those surgeries and how you dealt with those challenges.
yeah,
For those of you who may have just joined us, you're listening to the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air. I'm Ron Aaron. Raven Duran is with us, an incredible story about her son Maddox and how she, within an instant, got involved in caregiving for him. Tina Smith is with us today, co-host filling in for Carol Zernial. So, Raven, you do the first surgery. He's in a coma for 2 weeks. You're in the room with him. I'm sure you're talking to him, singing to him, holding his hand, kissing him, hoping that he'll come out of it. And then you find out he needs more surgeries. What were they telling you, and what were you thinking?
so they weren't telling us much. They just kept telling us he will wake up when he's ready. We just have to give him time. And so I am there learning patience, just being a mom, just being there, like you said, talking to him, singing to him, being there for every single moment because he might wake up. And I never left his side because I was so scared that if I did, he was going to wake up. Just thinking
Slept in the room?
what was that?
You slept in the room with him.
Every day, every night, didn't leave his side. I even was showering at the hospital. I was forced to leave. So, like I said, he ended up having 4 more brain surgeries after that, just because, hey, after so long, something's not right and we need to do something. Well, he started to accumulate fluid in his brain. And so that's why he needed the additional surgeries, ultimately needing a brain shunt to drain the fluid. And so after that, we started to see a little bit more progress. He would wake up for about 75, maybe 50% of the time. He would wake up, but he still wasn't himself. He was out of it. He couldn't talk. He couldn't really move. He couldn't eat. He couldn't swallow. He couldn't do anything for himself. And so we were in the hospital for 3 more months after that in inpatient rehab, reteaching him how to do everything all over again, and just hoping and praying to God that he would get some of his skills back. And that is ultimately when I became a caregiver, because he depended on full care 24/7. And it was, like you said, it was just an instant from one moment to the next. And I was just thrown into this. And when you're at the hospital, you have so much help and so much care around you. Everybody is doing everything they can around you, especially at a children's hospital. But then when we went home and were discharged, it was just me. And there were so many things that I had to learn, from how to put an NG tube in if it comes out.
It's an NG tube.
An NG tube is a feeding tube through the nose that goes down into their stomach, and all of their food and everything is given to them via liquids through the tube.
You
And
had
so
to do that.
I had to do that if it came out, because the NG tubes aren't permanent. So we were hoping that he wouldn't need this tube for too long, but I had to learn how to put it in case it came out, because if he was to vomit or pull it out, I
He's
would
a
have to
kid,
be the
right?
one to put it back in.
Did that ever
And
happen?
it did. And I did. And I couldn't do it the first time. I did have to take him back to the ER, just because
Sure.
I
Mhm.
as a mother, I just couldn't do it. And I knew it was hurting him and I could see the pain in his face and I just couldn't do it. But that's just like everything, right? Like you need help with everything at the beginning and then you just keep doing it and it just becomes normal in a way. And so there was just so much. I didn't know where to start. There was no book. There was nobody to teach me these things. It was just you learn as you go and with practice. And he's at the time when we were discharged, he was 6 years old and he was 50 pounds around there. And I was having to transport him everywhere. And he's about half the size of me. And it was just transporting him into a bath and back into his wheelchair, back into bed, just so many things that you just don't think about. And the car, transporting them from the wheelchair into the car, it was just, my car wasn't feasible for a wheelchair. I had to trade in my vehicle because I had a car. A car doesn't, you can't have a wheelchair with a car.
You
Just
need an SUV.
Exactly. So many things that just our life changed in every single aspect that I took for granted before.
Did you get a
And
wheelchair through the doorways in your house?
yes, his was a little bit thinner because he is small. And luckily we didn't need too many modifications to our home, thankfully. I think over time we would have with him growing, but luckily today he's no longer in a wheelchair anymore. So he is able to walk. He is hemiplegic on his left side. So he's able to walk and use his left side, but it's just not fully functional. So thankfully he's right-handed, but he has had a great recovery story and a great progress. However, he's still not 100% who he was, and I am still his full-time caregiver. The brain surgery has left him with just so many diagnoses after that. I am still his, like I said, his full-time caregiver and navigating through every aspect of his life and our life. It's just been
Sounds like
a
you've been,
challenge.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've been learning on the job. I mean, you're right. There's no manual on how to do this, and
And
gotta kind of learn as you go.
exactly. And there is no time frame that you get to learn everything. You are just
Got to be
thrown
instant.
into it.
All right,
Yeah.
stick with us, Raven. Tina, we're going to come right back to you. If you've just joined us, this is an incredible story, listening to Raven Duran talk about the challenges with her son and how he is doing today compared to how he was in a coma. Unbelievable. Just amazing. I'm Ron Aaron. You're listening to the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air. Well, thank you so much for listening to Caregiver SOS on air. We're delighted to have you with us. We come to you every week with a discussion of an issue, a problem, some accomplishments involved in caregiving with more than 60 million caregivers across this country, but most thinking they are the Lone Rangers. We try to bring you the latest information and help that can make that job easier and more manageable. Caregiver SOS on air takes a look at trends across this country. We provide tips on how to be a better caregiver and, most importantly, where you can go for help. On Caregiver SOS on air, we try to give you what you need to make that caregiving manageable and to provide you with the help that can make your life easier. I'm Ron Aaron. Carol Zernial and I are delighted to co-host this program, and we're thrilled you've joined us on the award-winning Caregiver SOS on Air podcast, available everywhere, brought to you by WellMed Charitable Foundation.
Hello, friend. Hello, friend. Really good to see you once again. Hello, friend. Hello, friend. Really good to see you once again.
We're so pleased you were with us right here on the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air. I'm Ron Aaron. We're hearing an incredible story of becoming a caregiver almost instantly and how, in Raven Duran's case, she and Maddox went through incredible challenges. We're talking about how she has been able to work with and help her boy. Tina Smith is filling in today for Carol Zernial as our co-host. And Raven, you were telling me off the air that instantly you become a caregiver. You ended up having to leave your job because you were 24/7 with Maddox.
Yes. And so actually, when we were in the hospital for the 3 months, close to the end of it, my job was very understanding of Maddox being in the hospital. However, I was on unpaid leave. They knew I was coming home soon. And so we were trying to make it work of somehow, some way. And ultimately, there's no way to make it work, unfortunately, especially when you're in the thick of it and learning all these new things. It is takes every single moment of your day. And so I actually was let go from my job. Um, Thankfully, I worked for a great company that kind of led the transition off smoothly. However, it was still really hard because financially at this point, what do I do? Like, I have to be a full-time caregiver to Maddox and I have to be with him 24/7, but how am I supposed to provide for him as well? And so I had never used any government benefits or anything like that, but luckily the hospital team was really, they assisted us a lot.
So they had social workers who were helping you.
Yes, yes. And utilize them, and they got him on Medicaid just so that we can ensure that he had everything he needed to go home, that he was covered for that part of it. And so it was, like I said, it changed every part of our life. It also changed my life as well. And I have always worked really hard. I've always provided for Maddox. I've always done everything above and beyond. And so it was a really vulnerable moment for me as well to have to give everything up and use assistance, use government benefits and things like that, just because I didn't know any other way. I still honestly don't know how I would be able to do it without the Medicaid for him, because he has 7 therapies a week. Then I know for a fact those therapies would be over $200 a week. And so it's just completely changes your life. Like I don't know how people do it. And I see so many other caregivers and I'm just like, okay, they seem so experienced and so, so great at what they do and handling life. And I aspire to be like them. But I think my fiance reminds me of this so much. Is like, he's like, you're doing the exact same thing. You are figuring it out. You are finding the resources out there and you are getting the help that you need and that Maddox needs. And that's literally what everybody has to do. And I think you just have to be vulnerable and you have to be open to the resources that are out there for caregivers. And there's so many great programs. And I think I just made it my mission to figure out a way for myself and Maddox and know that there's so many other parents that are going through this as well that become caregivers instantly, and to just try to reach out to them. And that's kind of what led me to Christus, to be on their family advisory board, to meet with other parents that may be going through the same thing and just be another parent that they can lean on, that they can talk to, that they can feel supported and by somebody else who has been in their shoes before.
Now, you mentioned that you have a fiance, and you shared with us off the air, he proposed to you before Maddox was faced with the brain tumor, and he is stuck with you and Maddox.
He sure has. And so he's definitely a keeper. God bless him, because I don't know what I would do without him. And he has given me this life where I have been able to stay home with Maddox. But ultimately, I don't know what I would have done without him. And he has been such a support from me as well through the hardest time. And I sometimes forget that he's going through it too with me. And so that's just a whole nother aspect of it's put a strain on our relationship, to be completely honest. But he's definitely a keeper because he's stuck through it.
Now, as you talk with other caregivers who overnight are faced with what you're faced with, what do you tell them?
Take it one step at a time, because it's extremely overwhelming when you just fall into this world. And there are a lot of resources out there, but it's very overwhelming and you don't know what to start and you don't know what to do first. And so you just have to take it one thing at a time. And I think in the midst of all of this, there were a lot of fires that I was trying to put out. And there were so many things that I needed to do, but every day something took precedent over another. So I just tell them one thing at a time, face it right then and there, and then let's move on to the next thing because it never ends. Caregiving never ends. And so you really just have to handle one thing at a time. And there's so much that is on our plate. And I just let them know like there's so much resources out there. You don't have to do it alone. There are there's a lot of support out there. And like I said, you don't have to do it alone, but it feels very isolating.
How does Maddox deal with all this? Does he know what's been happening to him?
He has some idea. He does. We're in and out of hospitals. So the hospital is a very familiar place to him. He knows we take a lot of pictures of his brain, a lot of MRIs. And so after surgery, he was diagnosed with intellectual developmental delay, which is IDD. So it's not fully coherent of everything, but he's aware. He's very aware. And so I do like to prep him before we have any MRIs or any doctor's appointments, just to let him know what we're going to do and what it's going to look like, just because it is scary for a kid. You know, it's very traumatic, but he is a trooper and he is one of the strongest little boys that I know. And so he never has fought me for anything. He's never fought against any MRIs. He's never fought against any doctors or anything. He's just the sweetest, patient little boy and just lets anybody do whatever they need to do. And he's so sweet.
When you're by yourself and dealing with what you're dealing with, how do you handle the emotions?
It's a roller coaster. I think every day I never know what feelings are going to hit me. It's almost like grief. I recently started going to therapy for myself, just recently after about a year of this, just because I was in the thick of it and I felt like I really couldn't. I didn't have time for therapy. But now going to therapy and just kind of processing everything, I'm grieving. I'm grieving a lot. I'm grieving like the life that I had, the mother that I was, the child that I had and don't have anymore. While also having this immense, grateful feeling that I do have my child and I am able to care for him. And I fight with myself every day because it's just, how can I feel bad for not having this life that I had while also feeling so much love for the boy that I have now? And so it's an internal like battle.
Have you stopped crying?
What was that?
Have you stopped crying?
Not yet. Not yet. And I think it's okay. Like, I think there's times where I just have to really cry and let it out because I can't hold it in. And I'm sure my fiance is not tired of me crying, but I just don't think he knows what to do anymore. Also, I think that's been hard for him and for me, is just he doesn't know what to tell me. We don't know if things are going to get better. I think for a really long time, everybody tells you it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It won't be like this forever, but we don't know that. And I think that's something that's really hard to accept. But maybe with time, it just gets easier to accept. And so
got about a minute left. And before we let you go, first of all, Raven Duran, thank you so much for sharing that incredible story. And your work with Christus Children's Hospital has to give you a lot of emotional pluses.
It does. It's such a heartwarming feeling to be able to give back to the hospital that gave us so much, and just to be with other families that are going through the same thing, and to be on the other side and hopefully give them a sense of hope as well.
Tina, you get the last word.
Oh, well, just, I appreciate everything you said because you're right. Caregivers can happen in a blink of a moment. But, searching for that help, being okay to ask for that help and being in community is so important. And, reaching out and being in that community,
Perfect.
and just make the journey what it needs to be.
Give Maddox a gentle hug from all of us. And
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raven Duran, for being with us. For Tina Smith, I'm Ron Aaron. Thanks for listening to the award-winning Caregiver SOS On Air. The executive producer for Caregiver SOS On Air is Daniel Calderon. The producer is Sharice Pendleton. And the associate producer is Catherine Oglesby. We'll see you next week on Caregiver SOS On Air.
You've been listening to Caregiver SOS On Air, an exclusive presentation of the WellMed Charitable Foundation. We welcome emails with suggestions and comments on this program at radio@wellmed.net. Join co-hosts Carol Zernial and Ron Aaron next week for more on caregiving, improving the health and well-being of caregivers and their care recipients everywhere. For more on caregiving and podcasts of our programs, visit caregiversos.org.